Welcome to our podcast, Thinking and Problem Solving in Adolescence. This podcast is intertwined with two modules, EN4032 and EN4022. The people who created this podcast are as follows: Jack Ryan, Sean Finnan, Anna Mahoney, Sean Power, and Leah Enright. The main aim of this podcast is to introduce the topic of thinking and problem solving in education under the following headings: brain development, thinking in adolescence, and problem solving.
The adolescent years are a time of intense brain change. Hormones surge during puberty, changing the brain structure, causing the brain to process social situations differently. Two of the primary brain functions develop at a different rate. The amygdala grows in size and becomes active, leading to rash and emotional behavior. The prefrontal cortex regulates the amygdala to ensure socially correct behavior. The brain of a teenager literally isn't fully connected. This can be compared to an entertainment system that hasn't been fully linked. There are loose wires. The speaker system does not work with the DVD player, and that is not formatted to work with the television. And to top it all off, the remote control hasn't even arrived.
Key terms to consider while discussing thinking and problem solving in adolescence are metacognition. This basically means thinking about thinking. This refers to awareness of one's own knowledge and the cognitive process. Cognition. This stems from the idea of metacognition and refers to the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through critical thinking. Cognitive development. This describes how teenagers' way of thinking matures. During adolescence, we obtain the ability to think systematically about all logical relationships within a problem. Critical thinking. The primarily yet sometimes insufficient goal of education is to encourage critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to evaluate a problem and deduce a solution based on previously acquired knowledge and experience.
Adolescence marks the beginning development of more complex thinking processes, including abstract thinking, which is thinking about possibilities, the ability to form one's own new ideas or questions, the ability to compare or debate ideas or opinions, and the ability to think about the process of thinking. Each adolescent progresses at varying rates in developing his or her ability to think in more complex ways. Some common indicators indicating a progression from more simple to more complex cognitive development include the following. During early adolescence, ages 11 to 14, the use of more complex thinking is focused on personal decision-making in school and home environments. For example, questioning authority and standards, and beginning to form his or her own thoughts on topics. At 15, middle adolescence kicks in and lasts until 17. With experience in using complex thinking processes, its focus often expands to include more philosophical and futuristic concerns, including questioning and analyzing more extensively, thinks about and begins to form own code of ethics, and begins to develop own identity and consider possible future goals. Late adolescence commences at 18 and continues until around 21. Complex thinking processes are used to focus on less self-centered concepts as well as personal decision-making, like increasing thoughts on global concepts such as justice, history, and politics, and beginning to focus thinking on making career decisions and their emerging role in the adult society.
Problem solving in adolescence is a big issue that I'll be dealing with today. First, let's take a look at the cognitive strategy for problem solving. A cognitive strategy is the mental process that we undergo to solve a problem. In the cognitive strategy, the first step is to represent the problem. This means that we develop a clear representation of the problem that we've been given. We then move on to the second step, which is to break down the problem into smaller parts to analyze it greater. The third step, and most importantly, is to act on the problem while reflecting on step 1 and step 2. At the end of solving the problem, we aim to get a solution. For the solution to be correct, it takes thinking from different points of view, analyzing the problem, consider different options and methods that we could use to tackle the problem. Sometimes it's good to ask other people for help to solve a problem. It's important to know who to ask, where we can get the help from, and why do we need help. Problems in adolescence don't always have to be education related. Sometimes the best help we can get comes from home. After all, it's very important for us to have a healthy mind and realise no problem is too big. But any problem that you have in college, the lecturers will be there to help you.
This is Sean. Sean is struggling with schoolwork. Instead of asking for help or doing his own research to solve the problem, he just gets frustrated and gives up. This is not the right way to solve a problem. As Sean gets older, he discovers through experience that effective problem solving can be done through discussion and group work. Here we see Sean asking his friends for help with the schoolwork, and together they come up with a solution. This way of problem solving is known as active learning and shows cognitive development.
In conclusion, we hope that the podcast has made clear the topics discussed and also how brain development plays a vital role in problem solving, but also in thinking in teenagers, as this is also a very important issue.